Welcome. Today we're going to talk a little bit about meditation and how it's integral to our self-care program. First off, thank you so much for coming and watching these videos. The reason why this is such an important opportunity is because we can learn to relate with ourselves in a more honest way. And it's not based on anyone else determining whether it's honest or not. It's really up to us to know if we are being honest with ourselves or not. There's not this grade or judgment that anyone else is going to have of you and your meditation practice. So in a way, what we are doing is first-person learning. And what that means is that we are focusing on our experience. We are being much more interested in how we feel, what we are thinking, and just how our mind is acting, you could say. We're changing our allegiance from being more outwardly focused to something that's much more intuitive and introspective. So looking at our own experience. And how that benefits us is that we're actually building a foundation of stability, of knowing ourselves. And through that stability and through that knowing, we clarify our understanding of emotions. We clarify our understanding of thoughts and how sometimes a storyline, especially when we get our feelings hurt, can kind of take us away. For example, like having a friend maybe tell us that they didn't like something we did and we disagree with that. And then we think about how our friend always misunderstands us and maybe they're not really our friend. And so you see how we can kind of get into this thought pattern that isn't really based in something objectively happening. It's really going back. It's about going back and seeing how our mind works. So hence meditation can be really integral to us strengthening our minds. And just like with exercise, movement is really good for the body. We all agree with that. And the CDC is even recommending meditation because of it's good for the mind to be still. It's good for the mind to stabilize. And how does that work? So one of the ways that we can assist our mind stabilizing in meditation is actually to start preparing for doing meditation. A lot of ways of how preparing works is to have the right environment. So all of us have to really work with our own personal environments. Luckily, I'm talking to you from Karma Trolling, which is a meditation center here in Barnet, Vermont. And it's really about creating the right space. And it doesn't have to be a very glorious shrine room. It can be fairly simple. It could be our own bedrooms, where we could use our bed as a place to sit. We could even use a dining room, and we could even go outside. But there's some principles of how to keep it uplifted is really the key element, so upliftedness. And that essentially means when we go into a room, we feel good. So that means keeping your room clean, and I'm sure you've heard this from your parents a ton, but it's really important for our minds to feel good in our room or wherever we're meditating. So it's really up to you to determine what that looks like and how you want that space to feel. And that allows us to relax even more. So with the meditation technique that we're going to be using, it's called peaceful abiding. In Sanskrit, it's shamatha, and this is a 3,000-year-old practice. It's been used by different cultures and different groups of people that all have developed an ability to stabilize their mind, clarify their understanding of mind, and then strengthening the mind itself. And we can look at an element of this practice is mindfulness, and it's a foundational element. It's almost like if we're eating something, it's the chewing, you know, and then there's the digestion that just happens naturally, but really this is the mindfulness is the very basic function of how we familiarize ourselves with our mind, with our experience. So mindfulness means that we place our mind on an object. It's our ability to stay with that object. And if we find ourselves going off course or being drifted away by thoughts of, oh, I really wonder what's for lunch, we come back. And so in this technique of peaceful abiding, we are abiding with the feeling of breathing. We are abiding, we are staying with our experience of the breath. And that's the in and the out. And they've done many studies around meditation and how it can actually almost rebalance, recalibrate, we could say, our nervous system, and which is a very integral part of our bodies, that really balances out our mental functioning as well as our physiological functioning. And so what we're doing in meditation ultimately is joining body and mind. We allow them to synchronize. So that's why the breath is such an important object of meditation in peaceful abiding. And as the name notes, peaceful is kind of like what we're cultivating. You know, the abiding is something where we're almost like that's the action. It's the simple being with, almost like a good friend, how they listen to us and they really take our experience in. We're doing that with ourselves. And that peacefulness, it arises because we're willing to stay with all our thoughts, all our feelings, and just whatever comes up. So it's really about being in the present moment, and what helps us be in that present moment in a strong way is our gentle mindfulness, our gentle ability to stay with the object of breathing. So in the next video, we will get into the actual technique. And this really was an introduction to the technique. It's something that I would highly recommend being consistent with on a daily basis. And what we're starting to create is an ability to get to know ourselves. And it's that first person learner where we can actually be compassionate, we can inquire on a deeper level, because we're coming from a place of knowing ourselves, and then we can know others even more accurately. And we can inquire a lot more accurately. And then actually we start building a community where many people are kind of resonating on that level of just being more in tune. So I look forward to seeing